first time I heard the whispers, I thought it was the wind, until they started saying my name. And then I realized something was inside the house with me. I never believed in ghosts, not until I moved into the old Victorian house on Hollow Creek Road. The realtor had called it a fixer-upper with character, but the moment I stepped inside, the air smelled like damp earth and something else, something rotting. The first night, I chalked up the creaking floorboards to the house settling, but then, at 3:17 a.m., I heard it, a whisper. Daniel. My blood turned to ice. I sat up, gripping the sheets, my heart beat loud enough to drown out my thoughts. The voice had come from inside the room. I scanned the darkness, my phone's flashlight shaking in my hand. Nothing, just shadows stretching like skeletal fingers across the walls. I told myself it was sleep paralysis. But then, the next night, it happened again. Daniel, you shouldn't be here. This time it wasn't a whisper. It was a woman's voice, cracked and wet, like she was choking on something. I bolted upright, my breath ragged. The room was freezing. And then, I saw it. A dark figure standing at the foot of my bed, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Before I could scream, it was gone. I should have left, but I didn't. Stupid, right? I convinced myself it was stress, until I found the basement door wide open the next morning. I never went down there. The realtor had warned me. The basement was unstable. But that day, something pulled me toward it. The stairs groaned under my weight as I descended into the dark. My flashlight flickered, revealing rusted chains bolted to the walls, and a large black stain on the concrete floor. Then I heard it, a wet, gurgling sound. Something was crawling in the corner. I didn't stay to see what it was. I ran. But as I reached the top of the stairs, the door slammed shut behind me, trapping me in the dark. And then, a hand grabbed my ankle. After that, I started seeing her everywhere. In the mirror, in the corner of my eye. A woman with long, matted hair and hollow eyes. She never spoke. She just watched. One night, I woke up to the sound of scratching, like nails dragging across glass. I turned toward my bedroom mirror and nearly screamed. She was inside it, her face pressed against the glass, her mouth stretched into a grin too wide to be human. And then, her hand pushed through the mirror, fingers twitching toward me. I smashed the mirror. But the next morning, the shards were gone, and written on the wall in what looked like blood, "You let me in." I packed my bags. I was leaving. But as I turned to go, the lights flickered, and every mirror in the house shattered at once. From the shards, she emerged. Her body unfolded like a broken puppet, limbs snapping into place. Her mouth opened, and the voice that came out wasn't human. "You're mine now." I ran. I didn't look back. But as I drove away, my rearview mirror flickered, and for just a second, I saw her in the back seat. I moved across the country, changed my name. But sometimes, late at night, I catch my reflection smiling at me when I'm not. And I know she's still here. I was 18, working as a pizza delivery driver to help pay for college. The job wasn't exciting, but it was simple. Drive, deliver, collect tips, repeat. Most nights blurred together, just me and the hum of my car's old engine, the radio crackling with static between songs. But one night, one terrifying night, broke the monotony forever. It started like any other shift. The evening air was cool, the streets eerily quiet. I picked up a few orders, loaded them into my beat-up sedan, and set off. As I turned onto a lonely stretch of road, my eyes caught something odd. A car in the distance, speeding towards me with no headlights on. It was nothing more than a shadow moving too fast. My breath hitched. At the last second, I swerved hard to the right, my tires screeching against the pavement as the car roared past, barely missing me. The driver never slowed, never even acknowledged the near collision. My hands trembled on the wheel. Just a reckless driver, I told myself. Nothing more. I was wrong. A few hours later, I got another delivery in an old, quiet neighborhood. The houses stood close together, their dark windows like vacant eyes watching the empty streets. I pulled up, grabbed the pizza, and walked up to the porch. That's when I heard it, an engine idling behind me. I turned and my stomach dropped. The same car. This time its headlights were on, illuminating the cracked pavement beneath it. The driver didn't move, didn't get out, just sat there watching. The door behind me creaked open, and I forced myself to smile as I handed over the pizza. Act normal, stay calm. But my pulse was hammering. My eyes flicked back to the car. It still hadn't moved. As I hurried back to my sedan, my hands fumbling for the keys, the car suddenly lurched forward. Tires screeched as it sped toward me, stopping just inches from my front bumper. A man leaned out. His head was shaved, his face twisted into a scowl. Cold, dead eyes locked onto mine. "Watch where you're going," he snarled. His voice was sharp, laced with something dark, something that sent ice crawling up my spine. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My body was frozen, every instinct screaming at me to run. "You think you're tough, huh?" he growled. His hands slammed against the side of his car, the echo ringing through the empty street. I snapped out of my daze. This wasn't some drunk looking for trouble. This was something else. I threw the car into gear and sped off, but as I glanced in the rearview mirror, my blood turned to ice. He was chasing me. The engine behind me roared as the man's car gained speed. The narrow streets twisted into a blur as I took sharp turns, desperately trying to lose him. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. He was relentless, staying right on my tail, his headlights flashing in my mirror like twin eyes, never blinking. Every time I thought I had lost him, he appeared again, closer. And then I saw my chance. Up ahead, a small park with a looping road. I made a sharp turn, swerving into the loop. As soon as I was out of sight, I killed my headlights and pulled over, hiding behind a cluster of bushes. My breath came in shallow gasps. I gripped the steering wheel, waiting, praying. The car flew past. He hadn't seen me. I stayed there for what felt like hours, the only sound my own racing heartbeat. When I finally dared to move, the streets were empty. He was gone, but the fear stayed. A few nights later, I was on another delivery when I saw it again. His car, parked at the edge of a neighborhood, its dark silhouette barely visible under the streetlights, waiting. I felt sick. My hands clenched around the wheel as I drove past, hoping, praying. He wouldn't notice me, but as soon as I passed, his engine growled to life. The car pulled out, headlights burning into my rearview mirror. He was following me. Panic set in. My mind raced for options. No one was around, no witnesses, no help. I was trapped in this nightmare alone. But then, I saw it. A house up ahead. The porch light was on. A man stood outside waiting for his pizza. Desperation took over. I slammed the brakes, jumped out, and ran to him, practically shoving the pizza into his hands. "Please," I whispered, "help me." His eyes widened at my panic, but he didn't ask questions. He just nodded and pulled out his phone. I turned, my stomach twisting. The car had stopped at the end of the street. The driver was watching, waiting. Then in the distance, I heard them. Sirens. The car's engine roared as the man sped off into the night. When the police arrived, I told them everything. They searched, but he was gone, like a ghost. They assured me they'd keep an eye out, but deep down, I knew the truth. He was still out there, watching, waiting. And some nights when I'm driving alone, I swear I see them. Those headlights in my mirror, lurking just far enough away to make me wonder if he ever really left. I live alone in a small house on the outskirts of town, a quiet place with only a few neighbors scattered nearby. Most nights I cherish the solitude. It's peaceful, a welcome escape after long, exhausting hours at work. But some nights, silence isn't comforting. Some nights, it's the sharp edge of something unseen, something watching. That Friday evening started like any other. A cold drizzle painted the world in dull shades of gray as I locked the front door behind me, kicked off my shoes, and wandered into the kitchen for a simple meal. There was no one waiting for me. No plans beyond curling up on the couch with an old movie I had seen a dozen times before. Something familiar, predictable, safe. As the film played, I sank into the cushions, wrapped in a blanket. the soft hum of the TV lulling me into a drowsy haze. My eyelids grew heavy. Sleep hovered at the edges of my consciousness. And then, scratch, a faint noise, just barely there, like something brushing against the side of the house. My eyes flicked open. Maybe the wind, I told myself, a tree branch. But then, scratch, scratch, this time closer, by the window, a slow, deliberate sound. My pulse quickened. I sat up wide awake now, muting the TV. The silence in the room thickened, pressing in. The noise moved, to the back door. I swallowed hard. Someone was outside, listening, waiting. My phone was on the kitchen counter, too far to reach without making a sound. My muscles tensed as I remained frozen, straining to hear. And then the noise stopped. A moment of breathless silence. Relief began to creep in, until the back door handle rattled. Someone was trying to get in. Panic surged through me. I had locked the front door, but had I locked the back? I couldn't remember. Slowly, I slipped off the couch, careful not to let the floorboards creak beneath me. Step by step, I crept toward the kitchen, my breath shallow, my heart hammering in my chest. Just as I reached the counter, a sound sent ice down my spine, the soft creak of a door opening. I had left it unlocked. I cursed myself. He was inside, footsteps, slow, methodical, moving through my home, checking each room. The floor groaned under his weight. I crouched behind the kitchen counter, my hands trembling as I grabbed my phone. 911. I whispered my address to the operator, barely audible, but I knew the police wouldn't get here in time. I was on my own. The footsteps drew closer, right outside the kitchen. A shadow stretched across the floor, spilling into the dim light. He was here. I had seconds to act. My eyes darted around, searching desperately for something, anything I could use. Then I saw it, a heavy frying pan on the stove. Slowly, carefully, I reached for the handle, every movement deliberate, every breath controlled. Then he turned the corner. For a split second, our eyes locked. His face was partially hidden beneath a dark hood, but I saw the intent in his gaze, cold, predatory. He took a step forward. I didn't think. I swung the pan with everything I had. A sickening crack filled the air as metal met flesh. The man stumbled back, clutching his head, a guttural noise escaping his lips. I didn't wait to see if he would recover. I ran. Bolting from the kitchen, I sprinted toward the front door. Behind me, I heard him, groaning, staggering, then the heavy thud-thud-thud of his footsteps as he came after me. My fingers fumbled with the lock, slick with sweat. Hurry, hurry, hurry. He was getting closer. At the last second, the lock clicked. I wrenched the door open and threw myself into the cold, wet night.